Dear professors, ladies and gentlemen, organizing committee, dear colleagues, I would like to present to you my research entitled Gender-Marked Intimate Conversational Interaction of Spouses in Modern English. I would like to begin my presentation. So gender-marked intimate conversational interaction of spouses in modern English. In my presentation, I will address the following, keep to the following plan. I will address the problem of typicality of the chosen research, theoretical framework and practical significance, research questions posed in this research presented, methodology, findings, and finally I'll speak about implications and draw some conclusions. If we analyze the results of the search, Google search, of the topic of man and woman communication, we'll receive more than 500 million results, and including things like female and male dictionaries that translate what the woman said into the man's language, and that also interpret the utterances of the man produced. They may address those results they receive, may address how to speak to women during quarantine, what is the dangerous way of addressing them, what is the safe way and safest way. Also, Andrei replied there's different guides to the men's guides to women and women's guides to men, and we can draw a conclusion that we do have a problem here. And on a more scientific level, as there is the issue has been addressed, and so we can, from this analysis, we can conclude that miscommunication or communication failures between different sexes has become proverbial, and the problem has been addressed by many by different scientists, different fields. For example, John Gray in 1992 came up with a very ingenious interpretation of why women misunderstand men and vice versa. And he said that is all because due to the fact that they are living on different planets like Mars and Venus correspondingly. And he also proposed a classic guide to understanding the opposite sex. And on your left, you can see this the extract from his book, Speaking Different Languages. And you have the interpretation of how your words are perceived by how women's words are perceived by men. And also, the issue has been addressed by linguists, and it hasn't somehow escaped the attention. For example, Otto Jespersen in 1922, in his work The Woman, described in particular details the language that woman uses, and how he also how that language was much deficient compared to the language used by men. And in 1975, Robert Lakoff came up with the interpretation, his idea of language and women's place, and introduced the idea of genderlact, that So she exposed in her work the fact that the social standing of the woman, her position in the society and in the family, has subordinate position in the society and the family, contributes to the is coded on language level and is replete with those markers of submissiveness. And that approach to language and gender has been called dependency. Has been called dominance. Dominance approach. Besides, there was an explanation put forward by Marx and Walker that interpreted a men's and women's communication in terms of cross-cultural communication. They said that we may have communication failures due to the fact that we belong to different cultures. And this idea was developed later on by Deborah Turner, and she took this idea further, developed this idea, and proposed and said that we should, among other things, yes, that we shouldn't speak about different languages that we speak, men and women. Instead, we should speak about different communication styles that we use, and those styles may particularly be interchangeable, that men may use women's style of communication and under certain situational inside the situational context. There was an attempt made to put down the differences we may have, and was miscommunication may happen because we have different physiology. Our brain is somehow formed in a different way, is structured in a different way. That's why we may misunderstand each other. That approach, the cognitive abilities approach, was criticized a lot, and that is why it was criticized a lot, yes, and it didn't stand the critics. And finally, there is an interpretation that we adhere to different social norms and or gender stereotypes, and for example, and in particular, Deborah Cameron said that we have been learned how to communicate, communicate from a very early childhood. That is, we have been taught into using, wearing skirts, lipstick, perfumes. So the same can be said about the way of speaking and relaying, communicating with other people. And so a lot has been done on the topic, as you can see, and if we address the issue further on and review the literature further on, we'll see that even more has been done on the topic of gender and language use in different types of discourse, and that kind of research abundance. And so we have research done on the language women use at work, gender-linked linguistic behavior in television interviews has been researched, gender empowered in online communication, language and gender of doctor-patient encounters. And what I have noticed is that little research is done concerning gender in intimate conversational interaction, particularly in marital one, except for tenants work, gender and family interaction, and a few more, but still those works do not concern the intimate communication. And the presented study is a step in the direction of shifting our research focus away from middle class professionals and looking at the interaction in intimate context. And I believe it is very important issue, because intimate conversational interactions, they contribute to intimacy in the relationships and to the quality of the relationship they have with our better halves, and if they must communicate in this type of communication, it may lead to some dire consequences, and to disrupted relationships and breakups in marriage, and which in turn can lead to some dire consequences that are even difficult to predict, like psychological traumas and suicides, depressions, and so on. And not to mention also the fact that our social life will suffer, and so these are unwanted consequences that, if possible, could be corrected, or at least we can all we can do is to raise the people's awareness of the fact that there may be some what to pay attention to. So the theoretical, my research was done in the theoretical framework of branches of linguistic that deal with real-world communication problems. And these are communicative linguistics, discourse analysis, social linguistics. Also, I have taken into account the tendency in linguistic gender studies, where scholars examine an individual's gender and specific features of his or her language, as well as focus on dynamic aspects of interaction. So both those frameworks, variational and social constructionist framework, have been taken into account as I conducted my research. Research questions that have been posed, in particular, what I wanted to address in my paper was connected with situational context of communication, which is intimate communication, as well as gender status of conversants. And in particular, I addressed who initiates the marital conversational intimate interactions, like confidences, intimate conversations, confessions, talk in relational terms, and flirting, the most to establish intimacy, different, like intellectual, spiritual, or emotional. And why I was interested, because Heinz and Walker came up with a suggestion that men are not in need of intimate communication because they establish intimacy on a different level. So it is enough for them to experience intimate, to have intimate experiences to establish intimacy. For example, it's enough to go fishing together in silence, and you have this intimacy established. Yes, and it's not enough for women. We need to have those intimate conversational interactions to establish intimacy. We need to talk about the relationships. We need to talk about our feelings, to share what we feel and think about different things. So by establishing who initiates and which genre, more often it would be clear whether the statement, the suggestion holds true. Besides, I was concerned whether gender and social-cultural preconceptions of differently gendered roles generally shape the intimate communicative behavior of intimate individuals and their language use. In other words, I tried to find out whether generally gender conversational stereotypes, like, for example, that women talk a lot, that being assertive is not feminine and woman-like, and if you are assertive, then immediately, if the woman is assertive, she is called aggressive immediately, where it is all right to be aggressive for a man, to be aggressive, to be rude, and so on. So it's kind of a norm, yes. Before I proceed to methodology, I would like to define some terms that have been used in my research. This is what is meant by data or corpus in my research. And this research corpus refers to the collection of 53 electronically stored conversation samples between marital partners who had an official status of a wife and a husband in the society. Excerpts containing intimate interactions have been extracted from 13 fiction works of American and English authors. And one more term that I would like to define is intimate conversational interactions. This term has been defined by me in 2014 in my dissertation thesis, and intimate conversational interactions are defined as private, interpersonal, cooperative talks about thoughts, feelings, and facts from personal lives of communicants or their relationship, or one of the perimeters through which the concept of intimacy is realized. So it is one of the concepts for which intimacy is realized, as I said. They have the following perimeters: entrustfulness and sincerity, clearly demarcated types of utterances or speech genres of intimate conversational interaction, like confidences, intimate conversation, confessions, talk in relation terms, and flirting. They are characterized by a special tonality of ease, sincerity, mutual acceptance, friendliness, lightheartedness, gaiety, delicacy, negative emotions, intimacy, emotionality, serious attitude to the topic, equal rights of speakers for speech, to speech activity. The stress in such intimate conversational interactions is on inner confessional openness. There's a tonality of cordiality, heartfelt, mutual acceptance, frankness, and pleasantry. Methodology that has been applied: I've used discourse linguistic multi-layer analysis, besides some statistical analysis was used, and elements of conversational analysis. So the data was analyzed on 3 levels. The first level was introtextual level. Generalized the introtextual level was used concordance tool, and conc 3.5.a has been used to search gendered words and word combinations and utterances in the corpus. This program allows us to see where research results are and the text for them to be investigated in more detail, to reveal why conversation signals and strategies are used by conversationalists and who the initiators of the speech genres are, to answer that, and that is done to answer our research question. The corpus has been scrutinized for the following lexical items: patterns with qualifiers, hedges, tags, clause fillers, expletives, personal pronouns, perlocution softwares. Which are pointed out in different linguistic literature as variables, according to which language use of both genders varies. Besides, also transphrasic utterances such as secondary function interrogatives, disagreeing responses, verbosity, encouragements, interruptions, direct imperatives, gossiping, and affirmative responses have been searched for, and word counts and the frequency counts have been conducted. And here we can see the results, the findings that we have the analysis yield. Sorry. On the agent level, the rules of interactions have been included to reveal why and what conversation signals and strategies are used by conversationalists and who the initiators of speech genres are. Conversational and speech analysis have been used. And finally, transtextual analysis has been done on the transtextual level to construct collective knowledge that manifests itself in systematic linguistic practice. These are the results, as you can see. Husband's use of language varies in some respects significantly as far as the perlocution softeners are concerned, for example, and as far as expletives, somewhat as far as expletives are concerned. In the rest of the things, it varies very insignificantly, I would say. Then the greatest, on the utterance level, we have the greatest difference in encouragements, and this is the woman's style of communication. Besides, there was one instance of gossiping, and that's why we have such a gap. Also, the women use more indirect questions, and interrupt often. As for the speech acts that are initiated by our conversants, we can see that men are confident in initiating talk in relational terms and flirting, as well as some confessions of love and feelings, whereas they are not so much in need of sharing or intimate conversations about different aspects of intimacy. And women, vice versa, they are very good at, they are in need of and very good at confiding and intimate conversations. Implications and conclusions that can be drawn from my research conducted, I can say that gender and gender-related social roles influence the way communicants converse in intimate communication, which can cause miscommunication, poor interaction, and disrupted relationships. The solution could be to connect with each other on a deeper level often and try to accommodate and attenuate one's gender-specific styles. If men husbands respected the equal rights of women wives in intimate conversational interactions, supported the development of ideas expressed by them, engaged their women wives in meaningful intimate conversations, and acknowledged their interest in a conversation more frequently than they usually do it, it would improve their intimate relationship and breed understanding. After analyzing the agent layer of the intimate interaction, I can say that women are we can have this collective model of woman-wife, which appears as a polite, attentive facilitator and indirect communicator. And men husbands, on the other hand, they appear as hesitant, and they are as hesitant, aggressive, rude, and direct. Also, it should be pointed out that even if gender is not explicitly privileged by participants as relevant to the conversation, it is omnipresent feature of all interactions. And these conclusions are of immediate application to real-life problems in communication. The study contributes to the fields of discourse analysis, social linguistics, communicative linguistics, gender and ethnological studies. Statistical data could be used as a framework for constructing psycholinguistic theories of male and female types of speech behavior. Research can also raise awareness of intimate intimate conversational interaction patterns in the relationship. Thank you for your attention ever so much, and goodbye.